Imagine that Ollie Bearman could have missed his F1 debut last year because his manager ran out of mobile data. Let me just remind you of how insane Ollie's F1 debut was with Ferrari at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix last year. So Ollie had just secured pole in F2 with Prema when he got the call to say, hey, we need you to drive for Ferrari from FP3. And that was because Carlos Sainz was diagnosed with appendicitis. And it's crazy to think that Carlos actually did FP1 and FP2 in such conditions. And of course, Ollie does wish Carlos well, but it's in the way that he does it that is just so funny. So he does it via video and he gives his condolences to Carlos, and condolences is just such a funny word to use for someone undergoing surgery. Like, he didn't die. So what actually happened with Ollie's manager? So Ollie has spoken about this on the Beyond the Grid podcast, and he said that Fred Vasseur had called the manager and his manager just ran out of data. Ollie actually said that I almost missed the Formula One race because my manager didn't top up his data. But of course, Ollie did call Fred back and all was well. And there was actually about 3 hours between that phone call and Ollie jumping into the car for FP3. That is insane. Ollie stood in for Carlos at one of the most demanding tracks, the Jeddah Corniche circuit. And we had Riccardo Adami, Carlos's race engineer, going through the motions with Ollie, like showing him the steering wheel. And he did so well in qualifying. He qualified in P11, only 0.036 behind Lewis Hamilton. So he didn't make it into Q3. But remember, he'd only just had that 1 hour of practice in FP3. Ahead of the race, Ollie took part in the driver's parade, and it was so beautiful because his Prema team were there cheering him on, and Ollie finished that race, remember his debut race with Ferrari, in P7, securing points, which is incredible. And then after the race, there were drivers there waiting for him to congratulate him, most notably Lewis Hamilton, who at that point was announced to be driving for Ferrari in the following year. But there are some really cool stats that were associated with Ollie's debut with Ferrari last year. So he was the first driver to make his F1 debut with Ferrari since 1972. He was the first British driver to debut with Ferrari since 1968, the first English driver to drive for Ferrari since 1990, and the 12th overall. Now there's 13 with Lewis. At 18 years, 10 months old, he was the third youngest driver in Formula One at that time and the youngest Ferrari driver ever. And Ollie raced with the number 38, and the last time that was used was at the 1954 Spanish Grand Prix used by Mike Hawthorne, and Mike went on to win that race, and he was also the UK's first champion and Ferrari's first British champion. Simply put, it was a whirlwind weekend for Ollie Bearman, and if you did not know who Ollie Bearman was before this weekend, people got to know. It was so impressive. One for the history books, in my opinion.